Hello, everybody. This is Ted Gothier with Michigan CNC. We'd like to welcome John Hennen, who is our guest speaker tonight. He's with Legacy CNC Woodworking Machinery out of Utah, and he's been kind enough to be our guest speaker tonight and talk about spoons and some tips and tricks and embossing and a couple other things, whatever he's got on mind. So I think it should be a real interesting webinar tonight. We do these webinars the first Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. local time. So feel free to ask questions, and I'm going to turn over the presentation role to John, and I'll let John go ahead and take over as our guest instructor. So John, it's all yours.
All right. Okay, I'm going to minimize this out of the way. Okay, so been asked to do some work with some spoons, and we are going to first pick the style of spoon we want. And you can get on, Etsy or Pinterest, Google, wherever, and you can really look up. There are a lot of different kinds of spoons. So it really depends upon what you're after and how we're going to create it. We're going to use this one from IKEA, just kind of a generic, nice-looking spoon. So we're going to use that kind of as our guideline, but we're going to use that term pretty loosely. So we can play with it and then decide what we want to change about it and everything else. So we're going to open up our Aspire. This is the newest version of Aspire 9.5, and we'll create a new file. We're going to do a double-sided part. Allow Albert John to join. Allow. Okay, we're going to make our part about 18 inches long. We're going to make it about 2 inches in width. And then our Z, we're going to just leave it at 3/4. And the reason we're going to leave it at 3/4 is we want to keep it to where it's just a nice, even, easy to get material. Now you can make your spoons ladles by making your Z thicker and doing the exact same thing we're going to do, just with a thicker piece of material. Now, in the two-sided job setup, you have this 0 position right here, and this is where you kind of have to decide what you want to do and what you're comfortable with. I'm going to leave both of my Z's on the top, so it's going to be material surface for both of them. So on side 1, it'll be on top, and on side 2, it'll be on top. You can go machine bed, or you can also go on top with 0 off the same side, which means on the top on the first side, bottom on the second. You can do that however you want. For me, I'm going to do this where it's all off the top. Okay, and then our XY datum position, I prefer mine in the middle when I'm doing two-sided work, and you'll see why when we do our flip, why I like it in the middle. Your flip direction, this is another personal preference thing. I like to flip my short edge, so in this case, I'm going to flip it from bottom to top or top to bottom, versus from left to right. And that's just because that's going to be the smaller edge to flip of the two pieces. Doesn't matter beyond that one. Modeling resolution, I default mine to very high. I like the better resolution. Makes the computer run a little bit slower, but you're going to get a better finish when you're all said and done. And of course, you can pick your appearance. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And we're going to click on OK. And that's going to go ahead and bring up our job. Now, as we bring this thing up, if you guys haven't done a lot with the two-sided, you're going to notice that up here there is a little button here. Now this arrow is pointing to the top, so it's the top side. If we click it here, you're going to see it pointing now to the bottom, and that's going to be the bottom side. You can also see that real quickly by the way that the rulers change color. Okay, so we're going to work on the top first, and we're going to leave this in our toggle view where we have our 2D up top and our 3D down at the bottom. That's because it's a really long skinny. We can do that and still have a really nice design area. So let's go ahead and leave it like that. Now you can draw this by the numbers, and that's what we're going to do tonight, or you can just lay it all out. So doing it by the numbers, I'm going to drag a guideline down on 0, and I'm going to bring this back to an even 7 inches here. Then I grab my draw ellipse, and I'm just going to start an ellipse right here until it's about the size I want. And then I'm going to make this a little bit longer. I'm going to make this 2.5. And I'm going to make this one 1.5 and 1.5. There we go. And that's going to be the size of the dish for my spoon. Now, when you create these things, what we also need to think about a little bit is what is the backside and how thick the wall thickness of the spoon is going to be. So all that has to be thought of ahead of time when we're starting to build this. So we know that this is 2 inches wide, and we have 1.5 inches here. So the thickest our wall thickness can be is 1/4, because that'll bring us right out to the edge of the material. Or we could shrink this in a little bit and make it maybe 1.25. And we can make it a little bit smaller. So whatever you want to do with this, this really is where you start deciding and personalizing your spoon to make it however you want. So we'll leave it like this for now. So it's essentially is 50% of the width equals the length. Okay, so we're happy with that one, or at least we think we are for now. So we'll leave it like that. We're going to do our handle. So I'm going to just draw our polyline tool. I'm going to start right in the middle of the spoon. I'm going to bring this over and make it a 15-inch long spoon. We're going to make it a relatively long spoon, and the reason I'm going to do that is because my wife and I do a lot of bottling. We love it. It's one of the funner things that we do together. And the hardest thing to find in stores is a really long-handled spoon. So we're going to make one. And of course, you can make it whatever you want. You don't need necessarily to make it that long. But again, like Bob Ross always said, this is your happy little tree. We are making our happy little spoon. So do it however you want to. We're going to select this center line here. We can go to our node mode. We're going to turn this up a Bezier, and we're going to start by just pulling this up. See, we're starting to create the shape of our handle here. And I'm going to bring this point here right up to the top right there, and then I might pull it down and in. So we're going to kind of get a shape for a handle right there. And we're going to take our ellipse, and we're going to do an offset on it because I do want to get an idea of where this handle should end, and it should end at the bottom side, not the top side of our piece. So I'm going to do an offset of about 1/8 of an inch. So our distance is going to go outwards 1/8 of an inch. Okay. And I'm just going to grab this guy and move him up to the top of there. And then we're going to pull this back in so we have a nice, kind of a nice shape for our spoon. And this one I might use my arrow keys to bring it up a little bit more. It's totally up to you guys. Now, what we want to do when we look at this thing is we'll select our top vector. We're going to use our mirror objects. We're going to go to the bottom and just take a look at it and say, I kind of like it. I think that this is too wide. Okay, and I think that this is a little too wide. So Control Z to undo that. Back to my node mode. I'm going to pull this one down into here, this area right there. Okay, maybe pull this back a little. And we'll bring this down just a little bit. And let's take a look at it again. Now, the other thing that we can do is if we like most of where we're at, we can insert another point right there. And we can pull this one so it's a little bit more, that's a nice clean tangent line to it. So let's grab him. Let's do another bottom flip. You know, there's a spoon that I like a little bit better. I think this handle needs to shrink up just a little bit. So let's delete that, and we'll do this one more time. So to shrink it up, we're just going to grab this side, pull this over, and I might even drop this down one more time right there. Let's take a look at it one last time. Again, this is your spoon. You're going to create this however you want to. But I think I'm pretty happy with the way that this is here. Maybe a little bit less on this area here. So we'll bring this down just a little bit more. In fact, we'll insert another point, and we'll just flatten that one out. Delete this, and take one more look at it here. There we go. Much happier with that shape. So we're going to leave it like that. And that is a spoon. Class is over. Really, that's the hard part, is just kind of getting the design right. Now it's the easy part, which is just creating your models and doing your work. So we're going to start by having the inner ellipse right there. We're going to go to our modeling. We're going to kick up here to our Create Shape from Vector Outlines, our Create Shape tool. And we are going to do a dome. We are going to scale it to a height. And I am going to scale this guy to 1/2 of an inch. Okay, we're going to go ahead and hit apply, and we're going to see it come into play right here. So there's going to be our spoon. And then we're going to go to a subtract. We want that thing to go down into the material. It's going to look like that. Okay, close. For the back side of our spoon, we're going to do a little neat trick here. We're going to grab this guy, so select our model. We're going to use the embossing tool. So that's going to be this create component by offsetting the invisible model. Okay, we're going to offset the model, and we're going to do it a negative wall thickness. So, and I decided here when I offset this one, I was going to do 1/8 of an inch. So we're going to setting right there. And we're going to preview that one. And it's going to take a minute to do that as it's bringing everything out. So we're in a dish. So a negative on a dish is actually going outwards. If it were a dome, an offset would be the other direction. It would be going out as well. But we want that dish and want it to offset outwards. So we're going to go ahead and let it offset out. And I should have clipped the Z values. We may end up having to come back in and just clip that value real quick here. So when we're done with this preview, we always want to check that button that's going to clip it so that it doesn't go above the 0 plane, which is up on the top of the spoon at the moment. So when it's done thinking down here, we will go ahead and clip it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a clip preview, and then we'll be good to go. Then we'll go ahead and bring it on. Then we're going to flip it to the other side, put it on there, and you're going to see how the one is going to lay on the top of the other one, and we should have a nice clean piece in here, clean transition between the two pieces. All right, so while that's going, this offset tool is a very powerful tool that most people don't use very much at all. In fact, I've only used it for about the last 4 or 5 months is all. And man, does it make life easy when you start to build, this two-sided stuff. Especially when you're doing like bowls, platters, plates, anything that has the negative of the top side on the bottom side. So kind of like our spoon. Go ahead and click on OK on this one. So now we have this, which is, flat. Kind of crazy. So we'll take this guy, we're going to right click on it over here, and we're going to say move to the other side. And it's going to go to the other side now. It's going to make our spoon look a little weird right now. Okay, we're going to flip over to the bottom side, and we'll take this component here, go to our combine mode, and we're going to go back to a, I think it's an, if I remember correctly. Let's take a look at it. I think it's a low. There we go, it's a low. And what that one should do for us, if we did this right, for some reason I'm not getting the shape of it. Let me kick over here and turn this one off for just a minute. Back to this guy here. Let's see what's going on. Combine mode. Let's do subtract on it. Here we go. And go back to our top and turn this beautiful bad boy back on. Wonder what's not doing here. And this is what happens when you think you've got it nailed and you forget one quick thing. Let's do that one more time. And turn off that clip. We can't clip the values because we're below 0, or we're clipping everything at the flat. Sorry about that. We need to just bring this thing in one more time without clipping the value to it. And then she should give us what we need. Well, it's waiting.
I just want to remind you to keep an eye on the screen. If somebody wants to be let into the room, you have to hit the allow button.
Yeah, I've allowed, I think, 4 or 5 people now.
Okay, good.
So I think we've got them as they ping in. Oop, lost the glasses there. So. It's almost here.
Hey, while we're waiting, could you explain a little bit more about the offset model? Is that sort of like the vector offset, but applied to 3-dimensional models?
That's exactly what it is. That's probably about the best explanation you can make on that, because it is exactly that. So it's just going to be here we go right there, and let's move this one to the bottom, to the other side. So it's like on a vector, when we do an offset, it goes out just horizontally, because of course it's a 2D part, And on this, it's going to go to a full 3D. And so it's going to go up as well as out. So you're correct there. There we go. Now that's what we're looking for. And see, now we have our spoon. All right, so let's maximize our 3D here. And so you can see down in here we have our dish. That's in our top side. And then on our back side, if we flip this thing over, we have a cup.
Hey, John, can you run through that one more time and show how you did that?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll start from the very beginning. We'll delete this one. Okay, we'll flip over and we'll delete this one. Okay, so we're back to just strictly drawing. We're going to select the inner piece here. So that's going to be the dish of our spoon. It's going to be the cutout, or essentially the ladle portion of our spoon. We're going to go to our shape profile. And it really doesn't matter a whole lot here because we're going to scale it to a height. I'm going to scale it to a 1/2 inch. We have a 3/4 inch material. I could actually scale it to 5/8 and still be okay because we're going to keep that excess material. We're going to do a wall that's going to be 1/8 of an inch thick. But we're going to leave it at a 1/2 inch. And we're going to set it to a subtract, and we're going to hit apply. And so that should give us a really nice spoon here, okay, or at least a little dip for a spoon. And we're going to close that one. We're going to then select our dish shape. And we can, if we want to, we can add a zero plane. You can see the dish a little bit better. You can see how it's coming out as a dish. Okay, we want to turn that off when we do our emboss because it'll actually do that on the entire surface. We don't want that. So we're going to go back in here to our offsetting tool, and we're going to set our offset distance to a negative because we're going down. Negative makes it larger, so we want to go negative. Do not clip the Z values. Only clip the Z values if you're going up, but we don't want to clip them right now. So we're going to go to our preview here, and it will go back through this one more time. So while that's happening, just because it's boring to watch it do this for the second time, we're going to kick over here and we'll show you here. Always got to remember to do that. I'll go here to Aspire 9.0. And let's put that in there. Let's allow her in. Okay, it should be about done now. All right, it's almost done. So while it's continuing to think, we'll bring in this other piece here. Okay, while it's waiting, everybody who when I posted up on our Facebook page about this thing tonight, Ted's been more than gracious to let everybody come, and hopefully you guys will continue with Ted as he does these classes. They're pretty intense, and he does some awesome stuff. Okay, it's almost done here, so hopefully, if it's okay, that they'll still be able to come in. Most of them aren't in Michigan, but they're all pretty good people. All right, so now we've got the embossed piece. So now essentially we've taken that whole shape and we've pushed it out another 1/8 of an inch all the way around. We're going to take the new piece and we are going to move it to the other side. Don't copy it, but move it to the other side. Okay. We're then going to flip over to the other side. Okay, when you click that little button there, it's going to flip us over. We're going to take this guy. We're going to go to combine mode of subtract. So it's going to invert what we've already done. And so subtracting a subtraction, or is it a negative times a negative equals a positive? Same idea. We had a dish that we then inverted, which makes it a positive. So by doing a subtract on that, we get a positive. And there's our shape. Let's go back up to our top side, turn back on our zero plane, and that should help you see this just a little bit better. Okay, there is our piece. All right. So there's essentially our spoon to this point is right in there. The back side of our spoon is right in there. We'll go ahead and turn that back off. And let's go to work on the handle. Now the handle is a little bit tricky, and this totally depends upon how you build it and what you want to do with it. Now, again, every spoon is your happy little spoon. You got to build this however you want to. There are easy ways, and then there are not easy ways to build it. It's totally up to you. This one is set up right now for a 2-rail sweep. So essentially, we have this bottom rail right here. We have this top rail right here, and then we can sweep across the shape. And then we can, as we do that, we can decide what we want to do with the shape of the entire piece. So there are a couple of ways we can do it. We can 2-rail sweep it this direction, which we can do some cross sections, which will give us essentially a shape to the spoon if we so desire it. We can also make it one large 2-rail sweep by essentially drawing a vertical line here, a vertical line here, sweeping it vertically, and then cutting out the shape. It's totally up to us. So the first thing we want to do is kind of get a cross-section idea of what we want the handle to look like. Lots of prep work when you're doing something like this. And so we're going to start by just drawing a square. We'll move it up here, out of the way. And then we want it to only be in our Y 3/4 of an inch, because that's going to be essentially the side view of the handle. And I did tie it to our end point here and to our beginning point there. So now we can come in and we can kind of get a side view of what we want the handle to look like. So we can come in and we'll go back to our Bezier, and maybe I want my handle to kind of swoop in, swoop down, something like this. And I want my handle to kind of match the shape. And then the underneath of that would be simply by taking this thing, doing an offset. In this one's case, I started here, so we're going to go with an offset left. We'll do it like 1/4 of an inch. So maybe we want our handle, to look like this. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Kind of whatever we decide we want it to do, we can create that shape. So this is just kind of getting an idea of what we want our cross section to look like and what we want to do with it. Does anybody have an opinion on how they want their handle? They want it a shaped handle. They want it more of a round, almost semi-turned handle to transition into this shape, into the head of the spoon. Give me some ideas.
Yeah, maybe blend it towards the spoon side.
Okay.
And
So we'll blend it towards...
do you have any preferences or experience on how thick the handle should be so they don't break?
It depends upon what you're doing. If I'm canning, and this is a canning spoon like I told you it would be for my wife, this whole thing's going to be a round. And it's just going to become a big round because the round is going to give me some thickness and it's going to give me some strength behind it. If this were more like a serving spoon, one that has this kind of a shape to it, then I would stay at least 1/4 of an inch. And you want to make sure that you're using a quarter sawn material because it will give you a lot more strength than the regular, flat material, even with your grain. So it's more really up to you guys on what you would prefer.
Hey, John, this is Jim Senecola. I was reading on spoon making, when you carve them by hand, if you make the one side, say from the top down, if you make that narrow, you have to compensate in the width then so that you get the strength.
Strength, yep.
So if you make one side thin, you got to make the other profile thicker.
We can definitely do that. That's what we're, when we're talking about this, it needs to be wider here if we're going to be thinner on this. Is that what you're talking about, Jim? Maybe. I think that's what he's talking about. Is that if I do this a nice thin handle here, it needs to be a little thicker here. So we've got a full 1/4 inch, which I think ought to be pretty close to plenty. Or of course we can always sweep it as a circle. If we're going to sweep it as a circle, we're going to take these two, and we are going to get these and just do a quick 2-rail sweep, which is really quick and easy. So maybe we'll play with it both directions and let you guys decide what you prefer. And so we will do that. And you can hear my kids in the background. Give me one quick second while I'll fix that. I can mute my...
Does your circle have to be the width that you want it, or will it only sweep between the rails?
It's a fantastic question. It depends upon what you do right inside your two-rail sweep here. So in our two-rail sweep button, you have the option of scaling. So you have this sweep between and scale cross-section with width. So it doesn't matter how big it is. If it's a half circle, it's a half circle. So you can just send this thing all the way through it, and you're going to get something that looks like that. So you're going to just sweep the whole thing. It doesn't matter how big it is because it's going to scale the cross-section. So it's going to scale the Z with the width as well. So it's just going to run that down there. And as big or as small as it's going to be, that's all going to run all together. So you can do it exactly like that if you want to. Now, of course, we need to bring our spoon up and do some other things to it. But that's assuming we actually want to do that. And we can also say scale it to an exact height and put in a number. Probably not 1/4 of an inch. But you can do that as well, where we can say no matter what it is, it never goes taller than 1/4 of an inch, and it will then squirt across the front of there as well. Totally doesn't matter. Again, it's up to you. So let us just ditch this handle. So this is one handle. It's definitely a doable handle. Pretty straightforward. All we're going to do with it is we're going to push it down 1/4 of an inch by going to our monkey wrench and saying our base height is at negative 1/4 of an inch. And we're going to put it on a merge, and then we'll hit apply. Oh, maybe not quite. Let's leave that thing on a merge. Let's allow him to join. Okay, and let's take a peek at it from the side view here. Let's see what we can do with it. Let's go to this view here. There we go. And let's just set our base height. It should be there. And I should put our base height right at the top of our spoon. Maybe we're just a little bit too low there. And we want to be on a merge, not an add. That's what's going on there. There we go. So that'd be that. And then we would need to trim off that center section right there. So we would come in with selecting this guy and that guy, deleting our inside, which would then get rid of that little portion right there. And so this would be one way to start our spoon, and as we built up the rest of it, we can play with that and tweak our tweaks. So here's one option. Let's just turn it off for now, and let's do the other option, which is doing a two-rail the other direction and then cutting out the shape of our handle here. So to do our two-rail the other direction, we're going to just start right here. We're going to make sure our rail is a linear distance. It's going to be the same. So we're going to go 2 inches. We're going to center that, copy and paste it, and let's just drag it down and snap it right there. Now what we have right here should be our rail. So this guy right here. Now what we need is just to add a single line to it, which goes from here to there. We'll grab those, and let's just move them down and out of the way. Join them together, and we'll do our two-rail sweep here. Now again, we want to have it sweep all the way at the end of here, and then we're going to end up trimming that away, again, just like we had a minute ago. We have to trim that away in order to give our spoon that shape there. So use our selection here, put it right there. Okay, we're going to just do a moment. We're going to hit apply. Now it's going to be 3/4 of an inch taller because again we did that negative where we dropped everything down, and that's okay. There's our sweep right there. That's our full 3/4 of an inch. Let's do something else to make it easier for you guys to see that. So that right there is actually the bottom of our material, but we're working on both sides. We're going to turn off the one side here real quick. Toggle between the two views. There we go. All right, and we'll take it, and we are going to push it down 3/4 of an inch. We're going to make this an even 3/4, and we are going to take our base height to negative 3/4. That's going to push it down inside of our model right where it belongs. That's beautiful. Okay, and then you can see again we need to clean out this area here. Clean everything out inside of it. So there's our handle there. And the last clean real quickly would be to take this. We're going to join them first by grouping endpoints, and then by a line. We're going to take and look at that. We want those to let's not do that. Let's move this one back. Notice how that line is a little bit longer, and that is right there. Let's do that sweep one more time so they're in line, and then we'll cut that out. Okay, so spend a little bit of time to do this now and get you a perfect spoon versus doing it later. Merge and apply. We want those tips to match up, and our line wasn't right quite where it belonged. Okay, back to our monkey wrench. We'll grab this guy, 75. Okay, negative 75. Okay, we're going to do this trim right here first, which is trim everything on the outside. Should cut away everything but that. There's our handle. And then secondly, we want to do this guy and this one and trim inside of it to cut that away. Okay, let's take a look at it from the underneath side. What we've got here, we're going to kick this onto here. And see, we're getting close to our spoon here, but now we need to build our backside. And we want this to kind of blend into our spoon itself. So these same vectors will be, this same cutout here will be used again on the backside. But now we're going to sweep it the other direction. And then we're going to decide kind of what we want to do with that. So let's go ahead and lay out that. So back to our top side real quick. And we're going to grab our second guy here. We're going to grab this one here. And we're just going to do a copy to the other side. And we'll grab these two lines, and we will do the same. Copy to the other side. Okay, let's go to the other side and take a look at it. Now this is the shape that we want here. And so we're going to bring that up there. You can see that it should just sweep right into the piece. And let's use our scissors tool to quickly build this guy's cross section here. So it should be that. We'll grab our node mode, delete this bottom portion here. And then that sweep should now come across there. So let's take a look at this. Now we go to our node mode, you notice that's our start point. And so that's going to be important in the selection of our two rails to sweep. We're going to select this one first, this one second. Notice that's the red. And let's go ahead and hit apply to it. And let's see what it does to us here. Okay, now we have got the shape here that should fit our spoon, except for we've got this thing. Let's reset that and let's clear our selection and flip it to the other side. So we're going to use this guy first, this one second, use selection. Apply. So that those red dots need to be all on the same ones. Give us kind of the shape that we're going for. And now there's this one here. We're going to go ahead and just leave it right the way it is for a moment. And we'll take a look at our handle, and you can see here that we need to blend it in a little bit more. So we'll set it to a merge. It should lay down on top of it, just like so. And we need to go back to our top real quick, because we need to get this down and this one down. So we'll do copy those to the other side as well. So you can start to see kind of the shape of our handle as it blends through everything here. Okay, with those on the other side, we're going to do the same kind of thing here. We're going to cut everything away. Should give us that. That should start to give us our spoon. Okay, we got some smoothing we definitely need to do there. So that should give us the shape of what we're looking for here. Now on the top side of this, we do want to add a zero plane. And so we have to flip this back over and then add a zero plane to it. So here is our zero. What that'll do, that's going to give us the cutout area of our piece. Make sure that we have a nice clean transition between our tops and our flats and everything else. So here is this. Let's go ahead and take a look at what would happen if we put a toolpath on this. We're going to take these two right here, go to our node mode real quick. I'm going to get rid of that line there. And then we're going to get our scissors and we're going to trim away that section. So this should be now the outline of our spoon, just like so. Oh, let's see, we want this back on for just a moment, and we're going to put a circle or a drilling pin right at 8 1/2. Let's go 8 3/4. That'll be right there. We're just going to put a 1/4 inch diameter hole right there. And we're going to have it mirrored across horizontally to the other side. And that's going to be important because that's how we're going to be able to flip our part and make sure that everything flips and works out. So let's throw some toolpaths on it real quickly. Roughing passes, I probably won't use a roughing pass for this. That's a totally your call thing. You can do a roughing pass if you like roughing passes. The tapered ball nose cutters do a fantastic job, and so I usually don't use a roughing pass. Now, let's show you this. This has a small teeny weeny error where it says it's 3/1000 of an inch too thick. So we need to go back to, I believe, our bottom side for that. So let's close out of this one. Let's flip to our bottom side. We need to take a look at this shape right here and see what it is giving us for its height. Right there. So let's give that one an even 3/4 of an inch. All right, and that should allow us now to work. So let's flip back to our top side. Top side first, we're just going to go right to a finishing. We're going to use our vector. We're going to use on this one because it's not got a lot of detail to it. We are going to do the 1/8 of an inch tapered ball end mill. So we'll go ahead and grab that one. The tapered ball nose that I use has a 1.5 inch side angle to it, so it's going to come out just a little bit. It's a great cutter. We're going to rasp with the grain of the material, it means less sanding, and let's calculate this. Let's preview our visible toolpath and take a look at our spoon. Well, notice right here that I probably do want to smooth that little section out. You can see this right here. So that model is just barely above there. So we are going to go ahead and clean that up real quick. What I want to do is I want to turn off our zero plane. We're going to insert a new level. And we're going to use this tool right here. This is a fantastic tool. It's create a component from a visible model. And what that does, it allows me to keep my two original pieces. And we'll turn those off. And then we're going to take our spoon and we're going to work on just our spoon here. And I guess I better delete that and turn off all of my backside models real quick. So let me just turn off my underside and turn back on our side here. And let's do that again. Create component from the little model. All right, I'll turn that one off. So we just have our original piece here. And we're going to go into our sculpting tool. And what we're going to look for here is we're just going to kind of smooth out that little area. So our Alt is going to allow us to do our twiddle view where we can zoom in, zoom out, and kind of play with everything. Here, so we're going to be right up on this guy here. And we're going to go to our smoothing, and I'm going to go to lower. And we're just going to bring that away. Let's bring our strength up a little bit, and let's just get rid of that. Just going to take a little bit of time, just clean him up. And there we're starting to get, there we go. And we're having a little bit of holes right there. So what that means is that our model is right on top of the other model. So we're getting a little bit of a hole right there. So we're going to come in, and I think the easiest, cleanest way to fix that right there might be adjust the shape of this to come out and then down. So let's see what happens if we do that real quick. All a bunch of schematics as you're playing with this stuff. So let's get rid of this one. We'll turn back on this guy. We're going to take our component 3. That's going to be this handle. Okay, and what we'll do is we're going to take this, put it over node mode, and I'm going to insert another point, probably about right there, and one more right here. We'll make this a line. I'm going to snap this one using our guidelines to about right there. And that should make sure that we have a nice flat up there on the top of there before we get into that shape. So we'll just take this one real quickly. We're just going to tweak the design slightly just to make it a little bit cleaner and easier to use. Now, of course, that's about 15 thousandths is all it was. So technically, we probably could have just machined it and then sanded that a little bit off, and nobody would have known better, but we'd have known. So sometimes it's funner just to fix it like this, and gives it less work later. So we can see how we're well inside that flat now. Okay, monkey wrench on it. Let's grab it. And now this component needs to come down to this level here. There's our 15. There's our 32 again. We're going to take that off of there. And this base height is going to go back to the -3/4. Right, and we're going to merge them together. Beautiful. All right, and we'll cut it out again. So we're taking this one, and we are going to take our inside right there and trim it away. Oh, snap. And if you accidentally use the scissors tool, just delete that inner portion. So that one can go. There we go. Why is it still high? That's a good question. Let's take a look at our view here real quick. She's still a little on the high side. Interesting. Not sure why that is. We're going to know in just a minute here. Let's delete everything outside of it. Bam. That goes down below our 0 plane there. And this component, back to our monkey wrench, we need to give it back down to the -3/4. All right, so there we go. Spoon tweaked. Back to this, let's remachine it. And let's see, we get out of her this time. Reset our preview our visible toolpath. There is our spoon. All right, so now we have a nice clean top on our spoon. Let's flip it over to the bottom. Actually, let's stay on the top for just a minute. Let's copy this to the bottom. Then let's go to the bottom and let's just throw our toolpath on it real quick, just because it'll be fun. Take a look at it here. Same thing, no roughing, just straight to finish. Let's calculate it. We definitely need to smooth those out right there. And those definitely need to blend. So now these two pieces right here definitely need to blend into each other. It's a little bit more, but let's just take a look at it here. So there is our spoon. There's our spoon. Okay. And let's just throw a cutout on it so we can take a look at it, and then we'll go back in and we'll tweak everything else out to make it perfect. So let's go ahead and just calculate that. No tabs yet. We're going to put tabs in this. We definitely want to put tabs in this. but this will just give us the shape of our spoon. So here's our spoon with a little bit of cleanup we need to do. We need to clean up this one, which means we actually want to extend that out a little bit more so that we can blend that one into it, so that we get a cleaner finish on that one. Then I think I want to go into the sculpting and just kind of smooth off the sharp edge everywhere. But that is going to be our spoon. So let's go ahead and do a little bit of the leftover cleanup work, and then I think we're good to go. All right, let's come over here. Now this is as much cleanup as you want it to be, and as little as you want it to be. This is your spoon. You build it however you want to. That's 110% up to you. So we're going to go to our Insert New Level. We are going to create a component, and we'll turn off this one. Let's go to our Sculpting tab. And what we want to do is make this, so sculpting is like sanding, but without all the hard work. So we're just going to come over here, just going to break those edges off. We're going to just bring that one down in. See, we're seeing how that works there. And we may add another model to it, just another shape. We just sweep that in, and I think we will. But on the rest of it, let's just use our Alt here. I'm going to zoom out here, make our sanding pad nice and big. And we're just going to ride that right down. And all we're trying to do is just get the edge off of the piece. That way, when it 3D carves it, you might as well 3D carve the radius edge into it. Okay, let's go in and take a look. So we're looking nice. Let's drop this a little bit more here. We bring our strength up a little. There we go. All right. One of the things that I learned about the sculpting tool is that the sanding, the smoothing tool especially, essentially has a point at which it will not smooth anymore when you're doing a straight up and down line. So we're pulling our strength up to 98%, and I'm going to pull quite a bit of smooth out of it. But there'll be a point at which you can't pull anymore, and that's about where we want to be. So we just want a nice clean edge in front of it. And you can spend as much time as you want. Now, if you're afraid of the smoothing tool, don't be. Or if you're afraid of sculpting, don't be. They have this wonderful thing in here called the undo brush. Undo is our best friend, because if we decide we don't want it, we just go to undo, and we undo everything. We can go right back to cleaning everything completely back to the sharp edges that we once had. You can see that right there. So see that? So don't worry about the undo, or don't worry about screwing anything up. Even if you're trying to do something crazy like do that, you can still come back and just use the undo brush to clean it up. Okay, so it's really quick, really easy. So if you screw up, it isn't a big deal. The only thing that you cannot undo is if you do the erase tool. If you hold down Shift, you can actually erase part of it, and that does not undo. So you don't want to use, when you're using the erase tool, you just want to be darn sure of exactly what you want to do. So, and if you do use the erase tool and you screw up, so say we're down here, for instance, and we just want to kind of clean up this, right? And so I say, you know what, if I get in here with the undo brush and I switch it to the erase tool by holding down the Shift button, maybe I just want to clean off that edge a little bit, something like that. Now, technically, we could probably get away with this. But let's say we get a little overzealous, okay, and we accidentally do something like this. Okay, we just screwed up our whole spoon, right? Just hit cancel, and then it comes back. So don't stress, nothing is permanent until you save your file. Once you hit the save file, save, and close it, and then reopen it, then it's permanent. Until then, nothing is permanent, so don't stress anything. It's all like a party. So, all right, does that make sense to everybody? Hopefully.
Yep. Thanks.
No problem. It's always stressful the first time you do it, and it's no need to be stressful. So we're going outwards on this one. We're going out that 1/8 of an inch. So for that line there, we're just going to blend that thing back in. So what we want to do on this one is I'm just going to take this guy and I am going to do modeling a dome. We're going to come up and we are going to scale to 1/8 of an inch more than that, 5/8 of an inch on a merge. And we'll hit apply. What that should do is I should blend this one into it. Just like that, but we're not quite getting what I want in there.
Yeah, I think on your first 1/8 of an inch, you got 1125 instead of 125.
Oh, that will do it. I appreciate that. That is a common mistake in this guy's life. So let us reset that. We don't want that. Okay, there we go. Let's see how tall we are right here. So right here, we can see right here, right down here is our X, Y, and our Z. I want to blend that into this. And so if we look at this, we can see that our Z is going up and down right there. So this is at a negative 5,625. So I think what we'll do is we'll do this one, and 5,625 should give me a leftover of 0.3125 on a merge. And that might give me what I want around that. And it kind of does. I just want to blend that into it. So I think we'll go a little bit shallower here. And this is where it's like a party. You just got to play with it until you get what you like or don't get what you don't like. I want to kind of blend that in and then just trim this away as it goes up. And I'm not quite happy with that, but I think if I bring my line in here, see I'm getting the cutoff right at this crescent or this point right here. So if I bring this in, I'm just going to extend this around and in, and I think we can use that. We're going to go ahead and stick with that one for just a moment, and then we will take this guy. We're going to use our trimming tool, and I did a 1125, that's why it's just a little bit smaller. I guess that would be all right. And we'll take this one, we're going to join it with a curve, okay, and then we'll use it plus that one to delete everything outside of it. That should help me kind of blend that piece in. Oh gosh, don't delete everything inside of it. Let's try that again, huh? If you want this one and this one to delete everything outside of it. There we go. All right, so that should help give us a little bit bigger of a blend in there, and I still don't like that very much. So I'm trying to get a better transition here. It's a little bit better transition, but I'm just not quite happy with the way it looks. And so let's see what we can build into that. I guess if we took, thoughts, what should we do? You see what we're trying to get rid of? We're trying to get rid of that edge right there. And so we blended this piece into it, so we get a little bit cleaner shape. We look at this. But I just don't like the way that it transitions to that point. So I kind of want to radius that out a little bit more. I'm just debating on what would be the best way to handle that. If you guys have thoughts on that, let me know. We're going to play a couple different options on that.
I have a question. Is it if you did the two rail sweep all the way around the front of the spoon? Does that cause problems? Or I'm just trying to figure out why the transition line exists.
Oh, that transition. Oh, so you mean what if I just swept the whole thing?
Yeah.
I like your style, but shall we give it a shot?
Sure.
I have no problem giving that a shot. Let's do it. Let's turn this back off. So we're back to where we were. So here we are with our two different pieces. So our two rail sweep, if we swept that handle, let's think here. Oh shoot. I think you've just like solved the universe. Let's give it a shot. I think I have an idea about what we're doing here. So let's cut this right here. Let's cut this right here. And let's do this guy. I just want these two. Modeling, 2 rail sweep, use selection, go in that direction, go in this way, scale to a height of, merge, and apply. Let's see what happens here. What does the inside look like? Inside looks freaking sweet. All right, let's turn off that other part of the handle and let's just see what she does. So we are going to turn off, let's put this down here, and we're going to turn off this portion of the handle. Ooh. Well, shoot. Maybe not quite. Let's see what would happen if we left them both together. And see if we can, well, that just gives us a radius on the bottom of it, but not enough to do what we want it to do. Well, snap. Kind of. Or really not quite. All right, the heck with it. We're just going to go in and do some surgery on it. Okay, surgery it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to blend this in. We're just going to cut that away right there and then smooth it out. So it would have been fantastic how that worked, though. That was a great idea. So when you're trimming out a vector, we want to always start outside the line. We're going to go into here, and we're just going to blend it down to about right there. We're going to our node mode, Bezier, and we're just going to kind of pull these ones up like this. And let's bring this one down to there. Now on the other end of the trim, we cannot let it join with everything else. It has to be out there. Okay. Let's see what happens with this. Okay, that will do that. Let's flip this to the other side. Vertical phase. There we are. Let's do that one more time. And that should give us what we're looking for. We want this vector here. All right, let me get rid of these ones because I mirrored it the wrong direction. Let's take those two, get rid of this guy here, this guy here, turn this one back on, view, create component, turn this one off. All right, now we should be able to smooth that out and give us a nice clean transition. So let's do that in our sculpting now that we've cut off that edge. All right, now that we have something underneath all of it, right there, we can spend the time on that portion right there. So now we're going to come in here, we're going to go to a lower, bring our diameter down, way down, down around there, and let's work that into our part a little bit better. And then we'll go to a normal, and let's just change the transition of the part here. Let's bump out just a little bit and see what we can do here. Bring our strength up on it. There we go. And that is what we're looking for. All right, and we're back over to this side here. Do this right here. Smooth that out of it. And we'll work down our part now. So we're just kind of blending that in together. So that's more what we're looking for. All right. Now we can come into the bigger area with our bigger side here. And then we'll just do a little bit of this electronic sanding on the edge. And I think we're good here. And we'll do that top edge as well. All right, so one thing about sculpting that is always good is being right-handed, because your mouse is in your right hand. Second thing is using something other than a mouse pad. I've got 2 strikes against me, so my sculpting skills aren't as good as they probably ought to be. If you're going to do a lot of sculpting, and I do recommend if you get into a lot of modeling to learn this tool really well, because it will help you quite a bit in speeding up, especially doing things like feathers and hair and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Hey, what tool can you know when that you had that abrupt between the bowl and the handle, that it would push it out, you could push out into the bowl rather than try to remove it?
The smudge tool right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, now the smudge tool, now because it's a bowl, and because we've got another side to that, the underneath side, or I guess the top of the spoon, when you smudge, we only have about an eighth of an inch on that. And so we don't want to smudge so much that we push more than an eighth of an inch, or we'll push it up into the bowl of our spoon. And so that's why I opted not to do it, but it is a good way to do it. And smudge is a great tool. I can show you that in a little bit if you'd like, but it does do a great job for us. All right, so once we're happy with her, we just click on Keep, and that makes her our new model. And then click on OK. Let's throw a tool path on her, and let's see what we got here. So those pieces right there will be, when we do our cutout, they'll be machined off. But that is going to take just a minute. Here we go. We're going to go back to this one here. Calculate. Oh yeah, I opened up my vectors, right, to do our 2-rail sweep, so it can no longer machine to vector. So I got to reclose those again. So let's do that, huh? Put those back together. And we're also going to take that little section out of it. So we're actually going to play with that a little bit more in just a minute. Probably will not just a bit on the top side. So that should be our cutout side. Okay, let's take a look at what she gives us here. Preview our visible. Let's see what it does. So it's going to change the shape of that one. Now we need to do some trimming up. So we're going to take these 2 pieces and bring those to the top side. So when we do our cutout, that it gets those 2 out of the way. So we're going to copy to the other side. Go back to our top side and change the shape of our model just slightly. Oop, not that one. Oh yeah. The blessings of 2-sided machining is that sometimes they allow the vectors on both sides to come into play, which is really kind of silly. There we go there. That goes out. Let's delete that. Delete that. And let's do this side. So when you're trimming and you have a vector on both sides of your model, the one of the bugs we still haven't quite fixed, you see how I'm trimming, but it's actually sticking because of that vector underneath it. And so it is one of the, ooh, that. We don't want that to happen. Well, if that does happen to you, then sometimes it's easier to just trim out that line, come in here nice and tight, and then clean all those out like that. So that is going to look more like, I don't like the shape of that on the front side at all, so I think I won't use that one. I think I'll stick with the one I have on the back side. All right, let's do our tool paths on this thing, because that's what's going to be most important as we make this thing look like a spoon. Now we've got everything kind of mocked up where we want it. Let's do this in the order we ought to. Drilling first. When you do this, when you do 2-sided, get a waste board, put it underneath your machine, because we are going to drill through the material and into the board. Approximately 1/4 of an inch. I like to go a little bit thicker. It's going to warn you. It's going to say, dude, you're going to drill into your waste board. We're going to say, yep, we don't care. And we're going to say, okay. All right, so we're going to do that first. So we come up to here, and in our spoon toolpath, if we reset our preview and preview all of these ones, we're going to drill first, this second. Okay, then we're going to take our board. We're going to do a flip. We're going to do a flip on the short side. We're going to flip it over like that. We're going to kick over to this side of the world. Right here, our dowel pins are going to be, we're going to use a 1/4 inch dowel pin to recenter it. Our 0, 0 is still in the middle. Even if this thing does not look like it fits in the exact same hole, it's probably because this is a little bit larger than 2 inches and you didn't quite cut it perfect and nobody cares. It's okay not to cut it perfect. We're happy either way. Then we go in here and we're going to preview our bottom side. Preview all tool paths, and we should get this. And then we should get our cutout. And our cutout's going to be one of those. Okay, and then at the end of the day, we break it free, we should have our spoon. Our spoon should look like that. Okay, so a couple of the issues that you just want to make dang sure of that you do is when you flip this thing from top to bottom. So let me reset my preview and preview all sides so we can just look at them. When you do this, even if your board is not centered over the top of what you think your X and Y 0 is, do not change your X and Y 0. Okay, the reason is these pinholes, these will tell you where your X and Y 0 are. They are on your, they're going down your X. They are on the 0. They're centered on the 0 line of your X. So if your board happens to be 18 1/4 or 18 1/2, or you didn't quite find dead center on your board when you were doing your offset, it stays where it is. So if you want to make it out of a little bit wider board, whatever, doesn't matter. But when you do this, flip it over to the other side, these pins are what are going to hold you to where if it was up a little bit more, like say you were off by 1/8 of an inch, so it's 1/8 of an inch higher up here, right? So when you flip it over, it's now 1/8 of an inch lower than it was down here. If you try to reset your offset to the bottom corner or reset your offset to where the new middle is because you measured correctly this time, it will now be off because these two dowel pins are what hold your 0 plane. That's what holds your X0 across your board. You cannot change that. If you do, it will ruin everything that you've just done. So definitely don't do that. Okay, the last thing you might want to do this thing, if you're a little nuts, is you're going to go to the top side and you're going to write on it. And we're going to put on here in a nice font, spoon. Hopefully they already know that, but just in case. And we're going to make this like 3/8 of an inch tall. We're going to put spoon down here. Come here, Mr. Spoon. We're going to put it right here. And we might be right here. Now you might write someone's name there or something else other than spoon. But if you're going to do that, just do your V-carving just like you normally would. Just project onto the 3D model and calculate it. And now your piece should say spoon on it. So let's flip it over to the front and preview your toolpath, and then you get spoon. Spoon. So you can do all that and do everything else. But the most important thing is do not, please, please, please do not adjust your 2 dowel pins. If you do, it will not work. All right? All right, we're going to save this thing, and I'll email this to Ted. He can send it to everybody. Call this spoon. All right, any questions about all of this? This is a pretty intense piece, so if there are questions, I'd love to make sure we answer them.
No, thanks a lot, John. It's been very good to see this.
It's kind of an intense process, yeah?
Yeah, it's quite amazing how involved it is just to make a spoon, but what's really interesting is that you get a lot of concepts out of here to make other things.
Yeah.
You know, so I hope you can pick up some ideas from it. I certainly did. I know the whole time I'm watching this, I'm saying to myself, wow, it's amazing how involved it is just to make a spoon. You know, someone says, oh, you make me a spoon, and you say, oh, sure, I can do that. And then you say, how am I going to do that? But
yeah,
it's really nice, and we do have it recorded. So before we close, I just want to say a couple of things. I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen here, John, and I just want to let.
How do I do that? Can I send it back to you, or can you just take it?
No, I can take it over.
Sweet.
So I just had a thing up here. Oh, here. Let's see. I'll hold on before I take it back over. I was gonna.
Go ahead.
There it is, right there. Okay, I've got it, and I just want to let people know that I try to record these things, which I did record it, and I'll put it up here on YouTube. I'll try to get it up there tomorrow. So if you go here to this site, Michigan CNC Webinars and Tips, just type it into YouTube, and these are all the recordings of other webinars that we've had. So this will be up there, and then I'll try to get the file from John and send it to whoever requests it. So I won't send it to everybody. Just if you're interested in it, send me a request, and I'll send you the file.
That'll get you taken care of.
Okay. So I just want to talk about two other things. One is next month, February 5th, we've got Chet, and I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his last name, Weatherer.
Yes.
He's from Washington, I believe.
He is.
Anyways, he's done a lot of vacuum bagging, and he's offered to be a guest speaker next month. So we're going to talk about vacuum bagging. There's several people that have been doing inlays and having a hard time clamping their inlays into their projects. And vacuum bagging is a real great way to do that and get even pressure all along. So he's going to talk about where he gets his supplies and how he does it, and a little bit about it. So I think next month should be very interesting. That's going to be on February 5th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And then just one last thing, John, why don't you give yourself a little plug there about Legacy and your Facebook Tuesday morning tips and tricks, and tell everybody about it before we say goodbye?
Do you want to jump on tips and tricks?
I can, or you can.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just go to.
You're already on Facebook, so, or you're already on your computer.
There's Facebook, and would I go to Legacy?
Yep, and you should see it. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So there it is. So this is just. I do a lot of weird things. I'll just.
This was this morning. So.
Yep. So every Tuesday, what I try to do, and try is the word, is I do a thing at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Try to keep it interesting. I do it every week. Try to keep it interesting. But if you haven't followed the page, it isn't about even selling machinery. It's just about giving that much more stuff out there that can help. Today we talked about my 3 favorite gadgets. These are probably the 3 I use more than anything. In fact, I talked about in that video this morning about using the Explode, and how I'm working on a crucible for the Catholic Church right now. And I finished it this morning right after class was over, and but I used the Explode vectors in order to lay out a piece that I needed to make a couple of 2-rail sweep on a 2-rail sweep to make this thing fit just right. So it's kind of a fun stuff. We do all sorts of weird things. Sometimes there are times I'm in front of the camera where I'll talk about like a new video coming up, or just tools that I use. A lot of people ask about, what kind of additional things other than your CNC do you need for your CNC. So we'll talk about things like the clamps, or a good pair of calipers, a nice angle finder. I mean, there are some. When people buy a CNC machine, you're about 80% there, and all of you guys who own them know that there's some tools that really make your life a lot easier. And so we try to go through some of that stuff. If you guys don't know Tally, this guy down here at the bottom who's commented, Tally is fantastic. He does a lot of really cool stuff. He's based out of Florida, and we've actually, Tally is the site administrator for the 4-axis turning group, and him and I have discussed about possibly doing some turning stuff over there for him. So we'll see what happens with that one, but you should definitely get involved in some of those other websites. If you haven't got into all the different CNC websites up on, or CNC Facebook pages, you definitely should. If you're on Instagram and you want to see some really crazy stuff, then I would recommend Brian Dalton's stuff. He is Sawdust by Design if you really want to see some insane work. But anyway, I guess it's get out and have some fun, guys. CNC is a journey. It's not a destination. If someone says we're going to, I've got a CNC and now I'm arrived, it's not an arrival thing. Ted's taught me that more than anybody when we started talking about what we're creating and building and doing, and he's always thinking outside the box, doing something crazy, and so I just try to hang on his coattails when he does these insane projects. And the cool thing about the insane is that creativity, the CNC allows you to take your imagination and make it real life, and just it opens up so many doors for you. And so if you're thinking that CNC is all about making boxes or even making signs, watch Ted for a while. You'll be blown away at the stuff he does. And I mean, there's some signs in there too, but there's some other really cool stuff. And Curtis Hennen is another really cool guy that you guys have inside this group who will do some amazing things. Dave Van, I always screw up his last name. We'll just say Dave. Van Antwerp. Dave does some amazing work as well. So you guys have a really cool group up there in Michigan, and just watching what you guys do, I'm always blown away by it. And I just have to do a big shout out to Ted for putting this webinar together every week or every month. It's been really cool to watch, and just to watch your page and seeing what you guys are doing. It's incredible. So I will leave you guys with that one. Thank you guys so much for letting me be a part of it. And I'm going to go pick up the girls from dance. So
okay.
Time to be a dad.
Well, thanks a lot. We appreciate having you and spending your time tonight. I know your time's valuable. We appreciate you, and we appreciate Legacy letting you free for a little bit. And thank you so much.
No problem. Y'all take care.
Okay, everybody.
Thank
Good night.
you.
Have a good night. Be safe this week. We'll talk to you next month.
All right.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye-bye.